2 movies, 3 rounds, 1 winner. Welcome to the Movie Battle Podcast.
Episode number 5 in the Halloween week. 5? 4? 5? 4? 5.
What a positive, confident intro.
Episode
Now
5.
let's count them up. Episode 1 was Night of the Living Dead versus 28 Years Later. I'm Eamon, by the way. Next week we had Dracula versus Frankenstein. Then week 3 was Friday the 13th versus Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
Week 4 was The Witches versus Hocus Pocus.
This is 5.
And this is week 5.
I think it's episode 10 overall.
Yes, I believe so. Double figures for the Movie Battle
So
Podcast.
is that like a mini landmark?
It's a big landmark. Remember I was saying a few weeks ago that like podcasts that make it to 7 and beyond, like say once you get to like 8, the chances of the podcast surviving relatively long term, or until we get bored of it, go up. And like a lot of podcasts die around the 5, 6, 7 mark. So we're 3 over. So I feel like we're kind of into safe enough territory. And then Q like, sorry, the next week has been cancelled due to an outbreak of not listening to us.
So this week, it's 2 films that kind of really caused a stir when they came out. You've got William Friedkin's 1973 film The Exorcist versus Richard Donner's 1976 film The Omen. So I said all about Satan, basically.
Yeah, it's the battle of the demons, battle of the demonic figures, battle of Satan
versus Satan's son, I guess.
Yeah, the Antichrist. Okay, let's start off. Round 1, music. Okay, so we'll start with The Exorcist. So for the score for The Exorcist, I'll be honest, I'm not sure what's going on because, first of all, I have a confession to make, and I think this applies for both of us. It does. Neither of us had ever seen The Exorcist before. We do a movie podcast, and we love horror films, and we had never seen The Exorcist. Let's just take a moment to let that sink in. Okay. Yeah, so I know. Yeah, we know. It's odd. But so the version that we have no prior, I mean, outside of the memes and the jokes and parodies and movies through the years, and the odd clip, we had no real prior experience with the Exorcist, besides maybe the trailer. So regarding the music, like I couldn't have told you. But okay, so basically, long story short, there were 2 different versions of The Exorcist. There is the version that came out in 2000 called The One You Never Saw, or the version you never.
That's
seen.
the one we watched.
That's what we watched. And then there was the version that came out in cinemas, the theatrical version. We didn't see that. I only discovered this afterwards, after doing up my notes, that we watched it.
And is one version seems better than the other, or?
I don't know. I think there's a bit of controversy. Some people maybe it's a bit like Star Wars, where Han shot first type of thing. But some people like the editions, some people don't. Some people like some of the editions and not all of them. I think I have a note of what some of the editions are. We can go into them a little later. But yeah, but so basically, kind of a long story short, once again, so therefore it's not very short. There was a different score. The original score is like, there's no real composer. There were different pieces taken from different sources. Like I was looking at the credits, there's like 5, 6, 7 names. I'm not really sure who's.
So who did the main theme?
there was the main theme. If we see, we used to call the theme like
It's not. It's in one scene. Like
yeah, we're talking about Tubular Bells. Totally Tubular Bells, dude. You were talking about that. That's a piece from Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield, but he did nothing else on the score. That is that he released that album, and then they heard it and goes, "Oh, that would be good for the Omen." But it's not the theme because
the
it's
Exorcist, you mean?
sorry for the Exorcist. But it's not the theme. Like it's not the start of the movie. It plays when Chris is walking down the street.
Yeah.
And then
I was expecting like it to
come in
come in
big.
more,
Yeah.
every so often, like because like
Yeah.
I know on YouTube, like I'd often be going through like horror themes, and
Yeah,
that would be the one for the Exorcist.
always. It was like
Um,
that was like the one. I was like one of the one of the few things I was sure about going in was okay. Well, I know the theme anyway because and it genuinely is amazing. It is a fantastic piece of music, and since then I've gone back and listened to the entire Tubular Bells album, and it's quite a journey. Um, it is a phenomenal piece, but it's not used a lot in the movie. Outside of that, there's not really a lot of music.
the bit this the very start, there's kind of like a kind of a chanting kind of thing, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
there's kind of this like
Well, that's the Islamic call to prayer. When
okay.
when we're in Iraq, is it
It's the very beginning. It is the opening, the very
on the
beginning.
house or when they cut to Iraq?
But back when
No, because it opens on the house and you see the statue of Mary, and then it cuts to Iraq.
does that?
Yeah. So which bit are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about when they got to Iraq. When they were
Iraq.
in Iraq.
Yeah. That's a Muslim call to prayer.
Yeah.
I think that's just well, it's two things.
But there is kind of a screeching kind of high pitched thing added
yeah.
to
So
it.
I feel like
So
but my point earlier about the version we saw, I don't know if what we heard is what most people know from the Exorcist, because they may have grown up watching the original and over the years.
Okay.
I don't know if that's different to what we heard.
I guess we can only comment on what we saw.
What we heard. So we're talking about the 2000, the movie you've never seen, or the extended director's cut, or whatever title it has.
I say a lot of people have seen it now because that's probably the one on.
Well, yeah, because like for example, just jumping a little bit ahead briefly, the spider walk down the stairs.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the theatrical version. That was only added in the last 20 years. But like that is one of the most famous pieces of the film for me, like the spider walk I've heard talked about and stuff. I'd never actually seen it, but I'd seen it referenced, and I definitely knew it was a thing in the movie.
To be honest, I kind of felt like that slightly out of place. Slightly out of place with everything else. I don't know why. It felt like I don't know, like I was watching The Thing or something.
It's probably why it was taken out. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in the horror section. Surprise! We're going to be talking about horror in this episode.
Yeah,
but just back to the music.
Yeah, I guess on that opening bit, like it kind of felt like it was like good versus evil, I suppose, or the devil versus
do you
God.
mean in the face-off with the priest, Father Marin, isn't it, versus the statue, that bit? The dogs barking.
Yeah, I remember that as well. But even before that as well, before
Yeah.
I showed the dig, I don't know. I just thought I kind of had that good versus evil kind of.
Yeah, I didn't really notice it. I mean, I noticed the chanting at the start, which I thought was. I mean, it is a quite a captivating sound.
When he finds
when
he finds the little mini kind of ornament thing, when he puts his hand into the hole, there's a kind of a swelling music. It's very ominous. I remember that stood out, but as well, but that's not much.
They don't really use that of music in the movie.
No, they don't.
If
you think about all the scenes where like they hear her being possessed in the voice, and like it's kind of the voice that kind of carries it, and the kind of the chaotic stuff that's taking place, kind of.
Yeah, I see. What they do is they use folio, they use sound design excellently, and I think that replaces music in a lot of cases. Like usually, kind of music is only really used transitioning between scenes. Really, it's not used in scenes. But I'll be honest, like I didn't miss it. Like I didn't.
No, I didn't feel like it needed it. No, I didn't feel like it was lacking.
And again, we'll get this later, but it felt like it added to the kind of the realistic tone of the piece. Because like the director Friedkin, he was a documentary maker primarily when they approached him. He did the French Connection as well. Before that, I think he did almost exclusively documentaries, and you can see that in a lot of these scenes. But I think it's the lack of music suited that. It felt bizarrely very grounded, and I think not filling it with music actually was a good choice.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think it hurt it that the music was quite minimal,
Yeah,
especially those very intense kind of
yeah, like
scenes.
the only one that kind of that piece of music besides Tubular Bells that really stood out to me was the face off with Father Marin and the statue in Iraq, and you had the dog barking. But again, the dog and the kind of um, that all added to it as well. Again, they were still bringing in the sound, or even the sound of the attic. What she was hearing. I don't. Anyway, we'll get that later. But like the sounds from the attic, the sounds of dogs barking, stuff like that. Like it's mainly sound design, but that's it. Like I mean, the music I heard, I liked. Tubular Bells is amazing, but there's not a whole lot of other music besides that.
There's not really much else I can think of, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Okay, are we just going to the Omen?
I think so, yeah.
So the Omen, the score was composed by Jerry Goldsmith.
He won the Oscar.
He won the Oscar for this. Yeah, I think it was his only Oscar in his career, but won it for this. Opens with that famous chant.
Fantastic.
The choral piece, and the lyrics that they're singing actually are it's in Latin, I believe, and it's we drink the blood, we eat the flesh, raise the body of Satan.
Jeez.
That's what they're singing.
It's like an it's very epic though. It's like pure showdown. Like there's passion, peril, feeling there. It's just an unreal piece.
It's brooding. It's dark chanting. I mean, it feels very religious because it's clearly inspired by Carmina Burana. By Karl Orff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's O Fortuna from Carmina Burana. But I would say even more so kind of the later pieces from Carmina Burana. Carmina Burana was like I think it was like a 12th century German monk's poems, basically about getting drunk as possible. Like they're drinking songs. They're like monastic German. I think it's 14th century drinking songs. And then Karl Orff took those words and put them to music. Amazing music. It is my favorite opera. Some people argue it's not an opera, but whatever. I mean, it's my favorite. I think call it an opera. Classical music and singing, in my layman's view, is an opera. Anyway, it's one of my favorite operas. But you can hear the massive influence from the later pieces of Carmina Burana in this.
But even like with the intro piece, that kind of the church, kind of the whatever way you describe it, like an opera, I guess, isn't it? The choir kind of chanting.
The choral
but there's like later in the film, there's kind of like a faster pace version of it as well. Like, do you know the scene where
with the dogs?
That, but also Joe when Cathy's killed and she's like pushed out the hospital window.
Yes.
It's kind of more frenetic.
Yeah.
It's louder and kind of quicker.
Yeah.
So there's like variations on it as well, which works.
Yeah. And there's another great piece with Father Brennan's death.
Yeah. There's pure chanting in that again as well, and that.
But the piece that I loved the most was the dog attack in
the graveyard.
Well, it's not really, well, it kind of is a graveyard, but it was the seminary, wasn't it? It was an ancient, the ruins of a seminary.
Yeah.
It was where his child is buried, the mother of Damien.
The scene as well, or the piece at the end, which only takes Damien to the church.
Yeah.
And just the music that played on that, because it's kind of a piano piece. It's actually very sad, kind of. It's kind of. I think I'll get into the scene later as well, but it kind of captured what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the fact that he's trying to
kill his son,
what he at least thought was his son.
Well,
I mean, it is his son.
Well, like, his son. Like I'll get into later, but
we'll get later.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It worked. It complemented that scene very well. I have to say though, as good as all of that is, and it is really good. The music they use when they're showing the happy family life thing. That is the most bland, boring music I've heard in a movie in a long, long time.
What, near the start?
Yeah, you know all the stuff with
when they're moving
the
in.
happy family stuff. It's just.
I thought it worked, to be honest. I
I
thought it
mean,
kind of
it did its job of like, hey, look at us, we're all happy, 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 and then they're setting us up for. I'm not complaining. I mean, that's fine. Set up the happy life, and then so that it can all come tumbling down. No problem with that, and it did work. I mean, it did do its job, but as a piece of music, it was annoyingly boring. So it reminded me of something I'd hear like in Dallas or something, like a soap opera. Like
no,
1980s
I thought it
soap
was
opera.
fine. I thought it worked fine. I actually had noted it as a. It was nice to kind of showing you like, after becoming ambassador, they got a new house.
Yeah.
Things seem to be going really well for them, and then I thought the music complemented that.
It did, but as a piece of music, I thought it was actually irritating.
Okay.
But that's me.
Yeah, that's me as well.
But that's me on the Omen. That's me. Yeah. So it's kind of a shorter round this round, but we're ready to vote.
I am.
I think there's no shocks coming here, but Liam,
Yeah, I'm going for the Omen for music.
the Omens.
It's instead I just think it has more going for it.
Yeah.
There's some phenomenal music in that film that really captures what's happening as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, The Exorcist has Tubular Bells, and that is an amazing piece. And I wonder if that had been used more often, and I wonder. I mean, it would have made the battle a lot closer. But the fact that it's not even used in an overly important scene. It's just a scene where Chris is walking down the street. I mean, I know it's kind of the calm before the storm in some ways, and it has that kind of childish, kind of quality to it, almost like a nursery rhyme or something.
Yeah.
But it's not enough, really, and the Omen takes it from me as well. The Omen has some amazing pieces in it.
Omen off to a flyer.
Yeah. In particular, the dog scene, the dog, the dog pack attack scene. I thought the music is phenomenal in that scene. But okay, so we're flying along. We will go on to
Round 2.
round zwei. I don't know why I said that. Round 2 in horror. Shocker of the week. We've got horror in horror season. The Exorcist.
Yeah. Like, I give it this. Like, it came out in
go.
it came out in 1973, but watching it, like I said, first time watching it in 2020, like it's extreme. Like it conjures up very shocking imagery and scenes, like very shocking stuff. Like I won't say I was like terrified of this film, but I was really shocked and taken aback by a lot of the stuff that I saw in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never terrified watching a horror movie. Even like the greatest horror movies I've seen as an adult, they've never terrified me. What they have done is made me be afraid for the characters. And for me, that's what I look for in a horror film. Like, I'm not like hiding my eyes or hiding behind the couch.
Yeah.
But I am really invested and worried about the character's well-being, and I hope that they come out of it. And I care what happens to them. And I feel fear when they feel fear.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, is there a lot of fear in this movie? Justifiably so. Like, we'd never seen it. I went in like hoping it would be good because everyone was talking about, oh, it's like one of the greatest horror films ever made, or it's the greatest horror film ever made. And you hear, and then like, because going in, what I had was the neck twist and the vomiting and the power of Christ compels you. You know, that's what I had going in, and the music. That's what I had going into this. I was not expecting a really grounded supernatural horror.
All the stuff with the priest, like his stuff going on in his family, with mother and that, like I didn't expect any of that
No,
in
none
the
of that.
film, you know.
I didn't expect. Also, how amazing. Chris's character. She's played. Who's she played by? Chris. Ellen Burstyn or Burstein. I'm not sure. That is one hell of a performance. I mean, like the journey she goes on. Like, I mean, some of the most horrific scenes in this movie are even before she even starts overly showing symptoms. Like the hospital scenes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because the fear for me in this film, actually, even in some ways, was feeling her fear for her child, for her child's well-being. Like the fear of not knowing what's wrong, the fear of seeing this beautiful, friendly, lovely little girl be corrupted and tormented,
Yeah.
and tortured. Like, I mean, that scene where you see on her stomach where she has written "Help me" from the inside.
So you know she's still there.
That is one of the saddest. That is the sad. Well, a lot of sad moments, but that was just a excruciating.
I think that was the one when Father Damo. I just realized Father Damo.
Your tea is ready. Anybody who hasn't seen Father Ted will not get that. But if you haven't heard of or seen Father Ted, it's a highly recommended.
Irish comedy.
Yeah, about priests.
But I think when Damien Karras, wasn't it? When he sees that, I think that's when he decides like he has to save this child. You know.
Yeah, like you can see that the wheels are turning. Like, you know, even when she speaks with the homeless man's voice, and like knows that his mother has died.
Yeah, do you know what? That to me was one of the weird, like, the toughest parts to take was like it was kind of at a place now where it could say stuff about his mother and he couldn't go there, you know, because his mother's gone. It was a real kind of violation almost to kind of do that, you know, and like
massively.
That was very disturbing
and like,
to do that.
Even the line, that was another line I had. Your mother sucks, you know, bleep in hell.
Or like you killed her, you know.
Like out of context, I knew that line, but my God, when you see the build up they put into this, and you know, just the horrific way that she goes, just how sad and depressing it is to see him go through that, to see her experience that, and know that there's nothing he can do. And even like when his uncle says to him, you know, if you weren't a priest, you'd be a famous psychiatrist and you could have her living in a penthouse. Yeah. And like, you can know that in his head he's thinking, and like, and at this moment as well, like, he's lost his faith. He's like, what in the name of God did I do during the priesthood? Like, I've cost my mother, I've cost myself. You really feel for him. Yeah, you know what, in a lot of ways as well, he reminds me of like Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. Like, he has that just
probably saves him for character section though.
Oh yeah, okay, go on. But okay,
in terms of the horror, like even kind of early in the film, like I like kind of stuff like, you know, when I think it's the first time the mother goes into the room, and I think it's before Reagan even is corrupted, but she's kind of sleeping, but there's a window open with the curtain. It's little subtle things like that. Obviously, the stuff with the attic as well.
The Ouija board.
Yeah, that was. I didn't even know that was a Ouija. I know it was only brief, but I didn't know anything about a Ouija board.
One thing I love about this movie, one of the many things I love about this movie, is they set up many different things, many possible explanations of how she became possessed, but it's never hammered home.
Yeah.
There's so many mysteries kind of left open, and sometimes an open-ended mystery can be really irritating. Like, if you're like, oh, well, we never find out what happens. But that isn't this for me. This was like, you know, these are different possibilities. Like, there's no set. We don't learn everything. Oh, and this happens because of that because of this because of that. There's a lot of mystery, a lot of intrigue, and it makes it feel more real.
One of the most two of the most disturbing images for me in the film were one was, so you know, when he sees his mother walking up
the dream.
Yeah, walking up from the
subway,
and then walking back down, and then you see the quick flash of you see that a couple of times from
the metal.
Yeah. The what? No, not the metal. The like the devil or the Satan.
The demon.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. that is the only thing in the film I didn't like.
That it was too
I
much.
thought he just looked like a guy in makeup. He didn't look demonic.
But when they do it with that little quick flash, it is kind of a bit creepy. But
didn't like it.
seeing her walk up and then walk back down, it was almost descending kind of away from him. Kind
Oh,
of.
so she's going down, descending.
Yeah,
where?
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
Like,
is she going to hell?
yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, like that was really disturbing. And then the scene, John, when he looks in the bed and he sees her for a second looking at him.
Oh,
That was so like, whoa, kind of like when the two girls in The Shining were kind of whoa. That's just a strange
very much
image,
so. I
really
agree.
jarring image.
Oh, you feel it. I mean, jeez, like it's just so harrowing. Like both journeys, his journey and Chris's journey, like you just feel for the characters so much, and that's why this film is so powerful, because it takes its time to set up the characters and takes its time to really lay out, to kind of build a believable world. Like we really feel like we know them and we care about them and we're interested in them, and then things start to really fall apart, or even, well, for Karis, continue to fall apart because he's already a mess when we meet him. But when we join him and when we join Chris and Regan, we care about them before anything starts going wrong, and that's so important in a horror film. And I feel like it's missing in a lot of films.
Yeah, I really liked that. It took a while before we really kind of got into her being possessed in that, but like I was fine with that. I kind of liked that.
Oh, definitely.
Kind of just showing them just doing normal things, even like her and Reagan kind of at the start, kind of just doing normal kind of general things. Kind of, you had an idea something was starting to be a little off, but it took its time to really kind of take shape.
Yeah, even like that first scene where she comes down at the party and just tells the astronaut, "You're going to die up there," and then just urinates on the carpet. It's such a this is what I'm saying earlier. Like in some ways, that's almost more scary than the later stuff, because it's this. Oh my God, what is wrong with my child? Like, and the doctors don't know what's going on. They're doing all these tests, and like the hospital scenes are, wow, like. I'm so glad I didn't have to go to the hospital in the 1970s.
But like I have to say, like some of the stuff that she says, like as I said, her tongue, like what a sharp tongue.
Oh,
it's like.
I mean, like we can't really discuss it properly in this PG context. But the scene, I mean, the crucifix scene, we'll just call it that.
Yeah.
That, I mean, again, I kind of knew that was a thing going in. Like those of you who are Scream fans will know the discussion that is had in the film about that scene. And
wait, what?
When Billy is talking about the relationship and how it was rated R, and now it's PG-13.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
In Scream, if anyone's confused, tell someone. So back to The Exorcist.
But do you know what? In that scene, like, I always like I've seen the clip of the when their power of Christ compels you, or whatever, or the blessing, whatever they're doing, and you see the head turning. I actually thought in the scene where with the crucifix, the neck turns on that one as well. I actually think it's creepier in that one.
Yeah, I agree. It felt slightly like a step too far. The neck turning, because everything else in the film, except for maybe the spider walk as well, but that is technically possible. But the neck turn, like she's gonna die. Like whether she's like the demon might survive, but like Regan should be dead there. Like her neck has snapped.
And the kind of croaky kind of voice is disturbing.
I love the way like it's a slow descent. Like you see her and like. She might have just a slight scratch on her face, and her lips are starting to get a little dry.
I see her lips when they're really.
When they get really bad, but like I'm noticing just when her lips getting a little dry when she's going into the hospital for the second time, I think. And then how she looks, like just inhuman. It's an amazing transformation, amazing performance.
She was brilliant. Yeah.
I mean, everybody, incredible.
It actually reminded me a bit of so for people who might be familiar, there's a form of theater called in-your-face theater, where you it's kind of pushing the boundaries of what you can kind of like
is acceptable.
Yeah, so it's all about shock value, really pushing your face and no holding back, and it kind of reminded me a bit of that, a lot of the horror and the images that you see I kind of got that about it. It was
It,
extremely shocking.
it does
you know.
go there, but what
Yeah.
I love about the fact that it's not gratuitous, and it all has a purpose.
Oh yeah, it has a purpose. Yeah,
No, no, I know you're not suggesting
Yeah.
it's not, but just some people might go, oh,
Mm.
you know, we're not saying that like it's like, you know, like
But like you watch
put
it
in
and
there
like you
just for
are like
titillation or anything.
I can't imagine anyone watching a film and not going at some point like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
just like
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is again we've never seen it, so I've heard people talk about like, oh, you know, like The Exorcist. I've heard people talk about how people talk about The Exorcist is the greatest horror film I've ever seen. And like, oh, it's so tame by today's standards. It's not scary anymore. Like, what in the hell are you talking about? You're telling me that like, I don't know I can't even name some of the terrible modern horror films, but like I don't know, the Conjuring or something, or you know, one of those Annabelle doll thing crap. You're telling me like that with its even I'll give you an example. It. Now we both like the new It, like you know, part one and part two. But like in the first one, I remember that scene where like when he's going down to the basement and like you see the water is there and he starts blah, 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 runs over at him and I'm just like, oh, would you go away? That's not scary.
Yeah.
That's just loud noise and moving. I mean, a child clapping in your face would scare you the same way. It's just a loud sudden thing.
Whereas, like, just on that scene, you know, like he pops up out of the water. If he just popped out of the water and just looked at him, I would have his head out of the water.
Oh yeah,
that would have been way
more
scarier.
Yeah,
Just
and
looking at him.
and even like in this film, it does jump scares right.
Yeah.
It has two jump scares from what I can remember.
The one with in the attic.
The attic with the candle, but there's no like massive music screaming to go, hey everybody, you're supposed to be scared here. Like this is the jump scare. No, it's just the flame goes out of nowhere. That's scary. The same with the phone rings when he's listening to the tapes in his apartment. He's just sitting there in silence listening to it, and then the phone, that loud phone ring. Simple things. That's scary. Something a noise out of nowhere can be scary, but the mood has to be right first.
Or
you
you
can't
just
make a noise.
You'd be going upstairs and you just hear like the voice like just screaming.
Oh yeah, when she's downstairs and she hears something, and you're like, oh god,
what's not happening now?
Every time like they would come back, and you're like, what are we about to see when that door opens?
It was like I said, it reminded me of The Fly, where like every time you come back to him, like what stage is his body at now? And you know.
No, it's it's very rare that a film lives up to like a film that's been, such a part of pop culture, has been spoken about, talked about, built up, and then like dismissed by other people and blah blah blah. And then you go in. Has it
been dismissed?
Well, some people, I think some modern horror fans say that it's tame or it's not like, or it's boring. I mean, I've heard I've heard people describe it as boring. And I'm like, I don't know what film you're watching. Like, there's not 4 jump scares per minute, but this is how you make horror. This is without a doubt, and I'm sorry, this is kind of going to give it away for me for the last 2 rounds, but without a doubt, this is one of the greatest horror films I have ever seen. It is right up there, bumping along beside The Shining and The Thing for me. Like, it is way better than I thought it was. I hoped it was going to be. It's very rare that happens, that the film exceeds my highest hopes, and this did. This is just incredible filmmaking.
Should I move on? Oh, before we do, actually, there's one thing. It's not.
Actually, could you go? And then I got one more thing.
It's not really horror so much as just it was like I found it hard to watch. Do you want her doing that like blood test injection on her throat?
Yeah, I was setting it up for you a couple of times, and I mentioned the hospital. I was waiting for you to jump in.
Oh yeah, no, because
I could see you wincing beside me when we were watching it.
I know, because what I was waiting to happen first was because she was doing kind of sudden movement. I thought like she was going to move and they're going to cut her completely.
Well,
open.
I thought that there was tension in that. I thought she might attack them.
I thought that as well. But then when you just see the blood spattering through, I was like, oh my god! It was like, and I found that really hard.
No, right? It's weird how that scene is really impactful, and that's a perfect example of subtle horror. Like nothing, like that was a child going to a doctor and getting tests done, but masterfully directed. It is an intense horror scene. There's nothing. I mean, how would you describe that as horror? A girl goes to a doctor and gets tests done, and blood spurts out. Okay, yeah, we've all had blood taken, maybe it didn't splatter as far or whatever.
Hope
But
not.
that's. I mean, like realistically, a nurse isn't going to be worried or doctor's going to be worried about
Yeah.
that. Like it's just a simple thing. It happens because blood, goes at high pressure and
Mm.
it can splatter out like that. It happens all the time. Yeah, but like it's amazing that is a perfect example of the skill on display in this film. How that scene is an effective horror scene.
Mm.
But one thing we didn't mention, and I can't believe we didn't yet, is the special effects.
Mm.
Special effects in this film.
And the makeup effects.
Everything in this film is practical. This is
Mm.
1973. It was released. What 72 probably when it was made. Like it looks better than the vast majority of effects filled films released today. I mean, I'm even including like ones with good CGI.
Mm.
This looks better. Like I saw it was Red Letter Media do a great recently I just watched it. They were talking about a review of The Exorcist, and they compared the scene with when they walk in and all of the items are flying around the room,
Mm.
and they compared it to the poltergeist when the same thing is happening. And the poltergeist, they're clearly like pieces matte painted in onto the cell. It's clearly not happening.
Yeah.
But in that film, it was happening, and that's why it's so believable because it feels real.
You know, like hovering off the bed and all that stuff. Like it just looks.
I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure like they use a lot of magicians' tricks and stuff like that, and obviously classic Hollywood tricks. But I didn't care how it was made, but I was just so impressed looking back that I couldn't see the strings in so many cases.
Yeah.
And the only bit, as I said earlier, was the makeup job on the demon.
Mm.
Looked ridiculous, especially considering how amazing her prosthetics were.
Do you remember that when she's in the kitchen and she comes back and the light's kind of flickering? You see a quick flash of his face on like top of the cooker thing.
Yeah.
Just weird. I just think that was strange. Like it just was a quick little flash. I was like, what?
I didn't think it needed that. That face, every time I saw his face, I felt, it took me out of it slightly. It was the only part of the entire film that I didn't like was that face. But I can see how, it was a good idea. Although I think that's one of the instances that was added afterwards,
Right.
the face appearing. A few of the others were the spider walk wasn't in it. And at the end, with Father... the other priest, his friend.
The Karis's friend.
Yeah, Karis's friend. When he meets the inspector.
At the end of the film, is
it? That's not in it. It ends just as Karis's friend walks away.
Okay.
And also the medal. When she gives the medal to him,
He gives it back to her.
He gives it back to her. In the original, he doesn't.
I was glad to give it back to her.
Yeah, I think so as well. It's interesting.
Do you want to go to the Omen?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we didn't really. Okay, we can discuss them in the characters, but we didn't actually discuss the ending of the movie. But we can discuss it in characters. Okay, the Omen. I'm going to say something very controversial.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a horror film.
What would you say? It's not horror?
It's a psychological thriller, supernatural psychological thriller with 25 minutes of horror at the end. Like, it is not a horror film.
But do you think the tone that there's always that kind of hovering over?
No. I thought like there's a couple of moments.
What about when he's impaled by the thing in the head?
Yeah. There's a couple of moments. But I mean, at that, that
like Mrs. Baylock coming in and like
Mrs. Baylock is horror. She has horror elements too. But there's so much of this movie that is just boring.
Really?
Yeah. There are bits of it that I like definitely. But I'll be honest, I was around the hour mark and I was checking to see how long was left in the movie.
I love this film. I find I'm going to Italy and trying to figure out like
that I like. Once Jennings comes in and reveals the mystery, then I started waking up. I was like, okay, we got something here now. But up until
what about like him kind of like I get it's more in character, I suppose. We'll get to that. We'll just
bring it in. Go for it. what were you going to
I was
say?
going to say like him kind of Robert kind of being told like that your wife is going to be pregnant, that you're going to lose the child, and him having to deal with all that, and then like that your son is not really your son, and he knows he adopted him, and then thinking like the doubts keep creeping in.
Yeah, but that's all in the last half an hour or
no,
so.
but not even before that, because remember when it's like he meets the doctor, the psychiatrist, and he's like saying, I think she should have an abortion, and he's like no, and he's like, I want to know your reasons, and he says it was foretold that this child would die.
Yeah.
I want to see that it doesn't. Like all that stuff. Like I thought that was very interesting. Him trying to deal with all that, and like just the puzzling nature of it all. Like and then that like his wife starting to become fearful of Damien. All that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, it felt like the build up, and this is funny because I was complimenting the build up in The Exorcist and not rushing into things too soon. But I was captivated from the start, and I was captivated by Kara's story, and I was captivated by Chris's story, and even Regan as well, although more so Kara's and Chris. And then obviously Burke's, death as well, and the kind of the investigation there, and like what's happening here. It was all interesting, It was all facets that you're keeping whole. With this, I don't know. It just, I mean, like um, that famous scene. What did you say? Look at me, Jason, or Damien. What
It's
is
all
it?
for you.
It's
Yeah,
all for
like
you.
that scene. Like,
That is an excellent scene.
and the
And it's
impact
out
of
of
the
nowhere.
because there's silence, and then
Yeah,
bang, the shatter of the window.
shot
It's like,
excellently, really powerful, really effective. That is an excellent scene. But it just.
and what about the stuff with the photographs? I like that was really interesting
Yeah,
as well. Like what and like
I wish that was the only one of the few bits of the film that was spoiled for me going in. I knew the reveal of what they were. I wish I didn't, because that is an excellent setup. I really like that. I really like once Jennings gets involved. That's when I start getting interested in the movie. I mean, it's interesting bits. Like it's funny because I do find Christianity and religion interesting. I read about it and stuff in my own time, but it just didn't grab me.
just on horror moments, then like moments that did have horror. Like I thought the scene with the tricycle when he knocks her over the balcony, and that kind of the squeaky sound of the wheels before it hits her, and that kind of almost silence again, like you were saying, there was no music or
Yeah.
hanging off the balcony. That was very kind of disturbing. But it's something about the wheels, the creaky wheels coming nearer and knocking her over. Cathy's dead as well. I thought was really creepy when she's kind of the things over her face, and she just turns around, and Mrs. Baylock just kind of starts walking towards her.
Yeah.
She's really creepy in the film, I think.
Yeah, Mrs. Baylock was much appreciated by me. She was when she was on screen. I was paying attention.
And like, just when she first came, she's like, saying, "Oh, I hear in my papers, my references, and then I can see your boy now." And then she walks in, the way her tone changes, like, have no fear, little one.
Yeah.
I'm here. And then there's that shot from the hallway, from outside at her by the door. It's a really creepy shot. It's just her standing by the door, and just you can't even see Damien. You just see her looking towards him, and you see from out in the hallway. It's kind of a long narrow kind of hallway.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really creepy kind of visual.
Yeah, no, it was a nice shot, and I did like Mrs. Baylock, and the dog stuff kind of worked, but just a lot of it. Well, see, the build up is needed, right? And I like the fact that they're not rushing into things, but it's not scary. It's not even horror. Like Mrs. Baylock, her eyes are quite captivating, and you kind of her struggle against Kathy, is it?
What about the
Is
scene?
it Kathy? Yeah, Kathy.
What about the scene where like he finds like the remains of his son? Like
As I said, the last 20 minutes, half an hour are a different movie.
Oh, I'm just talking. I'm bringing in the horror stuff.
So
this is horror we're talking about.
That's an excellent scene, an excellent reveal, and I like.
And the fact that he didn't find out that his son was murdered.
Let me talk about what I did like. I did. I think that was a really.
That's harrowing.
Yeah, it was harrowing. It was hard to watch when you see his little skull like cracked open,
and where he's left like in this like this decrepit, horrendous place. Like
you feel for him definitely in that scene, and like the fact that in the mother's grave is like a dog or something, some kind of just an
Because
animal.
you remember the priest said, like, you kind of hear him saying, like, your mother was a jet, and he kind of, the people burst in.
Yeah, I thought I was like, that doesn't sound like he's gonna say a demon. Or
It's a
something.
jackal, like
Yeah,
a jackal, or
yeah.
it sounded like he was about to say jackal.
Yeah, jackal's like a
Yeah,
dog-like
dog type of
creature,
dog. Yeah, so that's why I wonder was that what it was. But yeah, that scene was like, God, that he realizes now like it's all true. But then even like him having to come to terms with like everything's pointing to it that like, yeah, okay, this is what it is, I have to kill him. But then he realizes I have to kill this child who I've raised as my son for 5 years. It's not easy to just go, yeah, can I kill him now?
Yeah,
There's that dilemma.
That is by far the most kind of emotional aspect of the.
And even when he's
and
about
it- and
to
it-
kill him, like
it
David,
is-
no, daddy, no, because he doesn't
Yeah.
understand. So in a way, he says himself like he's just an innocent child, and in a way he is. He didn't make himself be this.
No, it's all of that I really liked. Like as I said, once Jennings and him kind of leave for Rome, I woke up and I was like, okay, this I like. This is interesting, and like it became a movie I was invested in, and I enjoyed the mystery and the flow of the mystery, and then like him finding out that his wife is dead, just after warning her, finding out she's dead, and then they go and you meet your man, which is a little odd. The whole guy in the city thing.
But what was it? Buchenhagen.
Yeah, whatever the hell that was. Like if he knew how to, why didn't he go himself? Like, you know what I mean? Like this guy was showing him how to kill Damien and the.
Almost like in the shape of like a cross. He had to do like 6 of them.
Or something. But like, it just like one thing that annoyed me was you've got this massive conspiracy basically by Satan to take over the earth, by getting Damien into, as we find out at the end, in with the president. He's been adopted by the president of America. So now he is the son of the president, and we were saying through politics he will have his influence and take over, right? And that's all a really good concept. I like all of that. It's a very clever idea, and they justify it well with passages from the Bible. But it's like if people are aware that there is, like, this guy seems to be aware that that Damien is the Antichrist. The Antichrist is on Earth, and this is how you kill it. Why would they send one man back to do it? Why not send like a huge group of them, an army? Like you would do anything. I mean, you're literally talking about the future of the souls of every human on Earth. The lives of every human on Earth, and you're just sending one guy back. Yeah, you go do that. Like, shouldn't he send someone with him? Why didn't he come with him? Two of them do it together. I understand, obviously, for the purpose of the film, that's not what they want. But it's a weird plot hole. I didn't think that. No, but I try not to be too negative, because I know I've been very negative so far. Most of pretty much everything else in the last act, I really enjoyed. The reveal of his son was very harrowing. It was a great horror scene with the music and the dogs after that trying to get out.
His arm goes through the.
Yeah, it was shot very well. That was pure horror, that scene.
And then the final Jennings' death was like Final Destination.
Yeah, no, it looked excellent. Like for most of it, it was shot really well. But then
the spin of the head
and everything. But when the final shot we see of Jennings with his head lying on the ground, it felt a bit Al Snowy. What does everybody want? The mannequin head.
But I think it's once he'd said like, well, if you're not going to do it, I will. I was like, fate had decided we have to remove you now.
Yeah, you're right. It was very Final Destination.
But it was creepy as well. Like,
yeah,
the whole thing in the picture.
And the picture thing is just a fantastic idea. It really is. Such a subtle, creepy.
Really.
That you can photograph someone's death.
Because it seems so innocuous at the beginning. Early on, like just like, oh, this is kind of strange. And then
it was just like an error in the development of the film or something, and then you see it over and over again. I have to say, why was Jennings following him everywhere? Like
He was a
everywhere
photographer,
Robert
kind
is.
of a media photographer, or
Yeah,
kind of
I know, but like, is he that famous? He's the ambassador to, to Britain. He's
well,
not,
after the stuff happened with the death, there was a lot of
maybe.
you'd have a lot of media
Yeah,
about
no,
you.
maybe. Yeah, that's fair enough.
One other small thing, just it's not really, again, not really horror, but like it was uh oh, and during the start of the film, so when they're near the river,
Yeah.
and I think they've lost Damien.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, it's that kind of thing. It's like a child like a child
Yeah.
falling
Yeah.
into a
Yeah.
river.
Yeah.
It felt disturbing
It
because
did.
it
Yeah.
felt like a real thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I did feel that. I felt their panic very
Yeah.
well. Yeah, that was good. The only thing, and this is not a fault of the film. The film isn't that fault here. It's just I know that Damien is a monster, so I don't feel as worried for him, kind of thing. But that's not the fault of the film.
I think it just more hit kind of a real
Yeah.
thing inside
Yeah,
you of a child.
it's like the Exorcist, that real panic of just it's a real fear of a child being in danger.
Peril, yeah. And then also, I like that the start. So like it says the 6th of June at 6 a.m.
Yeah, it was
cool.
it was it was done well. The 666, a birthmarks on the skin and everything, all nice concepts. And also I really like the when he comes back to the house and he has like actually with the dog, that was the scariest scene in the film.
Yeah, the silence.
Yeah.
When he comes back to the house.
Yeah, it was done very well, very very effective.
And you see the dog kind of and then kind of the
and
mini
sound
chant
of
thing.
him. Yeah, it was weird because it was like, is that the sound of the dog panting or is it chanting? I wasn't sure if it was Mrs. Baylock chanting.
Yeah.
You could tell that it was maybe it was whatever was kind of controlling the dog.
Yeah.
Was kind of making that sound, and
that was a really creepy
genuinely
scene.
creepy scene. Yeah. It was, and that's my favorite scene in the movie. That and maybe It's All For You, Damien. Those two scenes are the most just like, oh my, really kind of feel it, and maybe the baby reveal as well was also excellent. But yeah, and then obviously the reveal of, and he's still hesitating about what to do with Damien. Mrs. Baylock comes in and attacks him out of nowhere like a rabid dog.
Yeah.
Because up until then,
her death was the most satisfying thing in the film.
Oh my god, she was just
so glad that she was killed. Because so many characters you like or attached to, like Cathy dies and Jennings dies. All these characters I like, they all kind of die, and then you're just like, even the priest. I like the priest as well. And then you're like, God, finally someone. Obviously the ending. Then like Robert is killed, so
it's a real downer.
It is, yeah. And then like he's alive, obviously. Damon's alive at the end. Because you assume it's the two of them in the coffins first, the way they shoot it. The bit of a shot.
Well, obviously, I knew that he wasn't.
But I think that's the way they've done it.
That's not a fault of the film. The film can't blame for that, for being success. You can't blame the film for being successful and being a part of pop culture. But I guess it's like I wish they could have gotten to the mystery sooner, and build up the reveal for one act, not two, and then him and Jennings get together. That's when the film became interesting to me. But like for 2/3 of the film, I know there were bits that I liked. I liked Mrs. Baylock. I liked It's All For You, Damien, and even the priest's death, was good as well. But
the fact that he was locked out of the church,
Yeah, I know, it's funny, but you wonder, like, did
I have a theory on that actually. When we get to.
You want to do it on these characters?
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I wish they could have just brought it one act on that, and then 2 acts on what they did.
Yeah, I think it's a really creepy film. Like I really feel the horror in it. It's very unsettling. A lot of unsettling moments in it that we've touched on. So I was kind of closing on it.
Okay, so will we vote?
Yeah, I suppose we will. That's the next step.
Okay, I'll vote first because it's obvious how I'm voting. This is probably the easiest I've ever had in a round, I'd say.
Really?
So I think maybe The Exorcist is without doubt one of the greatest horror films I've ever seen. It is probably one of the greatest films I've ever seen. I thought it was astounding filmmaking, acting, special effects. Just I would say near. I would say it's pretty much horror perfection, and it takes the round for me.
This is a tough round because I think the Exorcist is more shocking in its horror, but I think the Omen is creepier. So I'm really struggling on this one, to be honest.
I'm surprised you think The Exorcist is more shocking than creepy. And I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, obviously. I mean,
I think The Exorcist is a more shocking film. Like it's like
yeah, but there's a lot of creepiness in it as well. Like.
Yeah, but I think.
We've got silence here, Liam.
No, I'm just kidding. I guess
just tell us what you're thinking.
I'm gonna go on like which I would find scarier if I was I'd watch one of these like 4 a.m. or something. And it's like pitch black, like got a big massive castle or mansion or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Omen.
Okay. So you go with the Omen. So
it's close. I'd just go with the Omen.
Okay, so and that's probably the most we've disagreed on around, I'd say, ever. Okay, so it's 3-1 to the Omen going into the final round. So we
3-1. Oh, wait, see, we both voted for. Oh, and the music. Yeah. Oh, get you. Sorry. Yeah, okay.
Keep up, Liam. Okay, so before we go into the final round, we'll just plug the old social media where you can find us. So we're on Twitter, Movie Bat.
Movie Bat, that's a new one. Movie Bat.
Yeah, we've started a new social media network called Movie Bat. Okay, so we're on Twitter. It's at the Movie Battle Pod, POD. And on Instagram, the Movie Battle Podcast, and Facebook, the Movie Battle Podcast. We release unique pixel art to go along with each episode. On all the social media posts, we use the hashtag the MVP. Find us through that. Liam?
Wait, what did you say? Sorry, I trailed off there.
Okay, I'll do it. We are also on YouTube, where we have an animated intro, and you can check us out on that. And
moviebattlepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, well done, Liam.
Yes,
thanks for joining us. He's still going. What should have won that last round? Yes. If you email us any thoughts, comments, we'd love to hear from you. Did you really disagree with us? I imagine you're going to disagree with one of us in that last round, definitely. Yeah, we just would like to hear from you. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Just go, I hate listening to you every week. I'll download it and I can't stand you. I'd love to hear if that's the case.
I thought I'd never end.
And also, just on a slightly different topic, we've mentioned a couple of times over the last few weeks that we're working on a movie, and it's finally finished. We're going to be releasing it on Halloween. 12 a.m. Irish time, which would probably be the 30th in America.
People probably, depending where they are, so maybe like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
it could be earlier,
like
even in that area of America.
But yeah, it's called Shantir. It's a short horror film about Irish mythology, inspired by Irish kind of Celtic mythology, and the perilous state of the Irish language in Ireland, in modern Ireland, and how the island itself tries to fight back. Yeah, so if we'll link it up on all social media and stuff like that. So if you want to give it a watch, want to critique us, fire away. Okay.
Did you throw the title in?
I think it's called Shantir. Shantir, which is is Irish for, or Oscailga as we say, for the ancient land or the old country. But yeah, okay, cool. So Shantir.
So final round.
Round 3, characters. So, I'm not sure who you have for Exorcist.
Hang on, there you go.
I did the two priests,
Yeah.
Regan and Chris,
Yeah. I had like a brief mention of like
the detective.
the detective. I kind of liked
he's-
him.
he's- I did as well. His name escapes me now. I
Yeah.
can't believe it. What was his name?
I can't remember his name, but he had a few like, good
How,
moments.
how bad are we? My God.
Well, we've seen it for the first time, like
No, I
you know,
know.
and we're dealing with two films, like so his characters in the
We
Omen.
did,
as well.
and we're
Trying to
also
remember-
releasing the movie. To be fair to us, we're pretty busy this week.
And it's a bonus episode on actually on Halloween as well.
Yes, yeah. No, it's gonna be crazy getting on and out to you at the same time. Just look, as Radiohead once said, "You do it to yourself. You do." Okay, where are we going? You keep talking there for a second while I'm searching.
You always do that. Just babble along
Well,
there
just
for a second.
you know, people don't like silence.
What are you doing?
I'm looking up to see what the character's name was.
The detective.
Hmm.
Just call him the detective. You know, it's fine. Like people know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know, but something is annoying me now. Boy, keep talking.
Yeah, but he was kind of humorous actually. I mean, you can see why
he was.
he's suspicious of of the regarding the situation. Like because there's obviously with the priest going visiting her often. Chris. So he's right to be suspicious, but he's also kind of quite funny. Like with talking about the movies and when he asks for her autograph, and he says like it actually he pretends it's for his daughter. He said, I'll be honest, it's actually for me.
How do you spell? What's her name? Yeah.
What very welcoming, humorous moments.
Lieutenant William F. Kinderman. Yeah. The detective is fine.
Yeah, I just a brief thing on him.
I agree. I really liked him as well. He's he has that kind of thing that like a lot of TV and movie detectives have, where they're kind of they try and kind of trick you out with their kind of being laid back and nice. Sure, I'm only just having a chat with you, but like at the same time, they're constantly watching and assessing everything you are. They make it look like they're kind of maybe a little even slow or dim-witted, but they're actually really intelligent and calculating. And he has that, and it was a perfect kind of added stress and pressure that he comes in, and like the last thing Chris needs is like somebody investigating and talking to her, and then she has to like put on this pretense of being this, because she is a famous actress, in the world of this movie, and you just see her have to turn it on, and like the last thing she wants to do is pretend she's happy, and
Burke is awful, isn't he?
Yeah.
When he talks to the old guy,
really, quite xenophobic.
Yeah. When he's drunk, he's just like,
He, and one thing I have to say about Burke, and again, it's another mystery that they leave open. Like, how was he in Regan's room? At what point did he go up to the room?
Well, do you remember you want the one who's working for Chris? She says like I had to pop out, and Burke was there, so I asked him to just keep an eye on her.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah, I totally missed that. It was Burke. Oh yeah, I thought it was the butler at first. I forgot. I mixed up the names, and then I never kind of put it back together, pieced it together in my head. Okay, because that was something I was like, how in the name of God did he get in his room? Right. Okay. So Regan kills him. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So but he really is a nasty guy when he's drunk. Certainly. Played by a favorite of
Jack
yours.
McGowan, yeah. He was in Fearless Vampire Killers, and he was in Cul-de-sac, and he was actually Samuel Beckett. He was like one of his favorite actors to use in a lot of plays. Very eccentric kind of.
Good Irish actor.
Good Irish actor, yeah. He was actually in The Quiet Man as well.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
But yeah, very very good, great character actor. But he actually, from what I heard, he died of pneumonia while they were making the film.
Oh,
I think.
really?
Yeah. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I wonder, like, would he have been maybe a little more to film?
Possibly, yeah.
I think said it was during production that it happened.
Wow.
I might be I might be wrong
Yeah,
on that.
because
But I
they
heard
set
that.
it up like when she's saying like you're gonna marry Burke, aren't
Yeah.
you? And it's like what? And even
Mm.
like I'm like what really? I mean
Yeah.
that's not been set up at all.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have had other scenes where they were setting that up or
Possibly, yeah,
something.
yeah. No, I don't know. Maybe it was after, but I know it was around that time. I remember reading about it. It was around that time. But
But yeah,
anyway,
we went to Father Marin.
yeah,
The
the
old
older
priest.
I had the older
old
priest.
young
Yeah.
priest combo. I
I
need an
always think
old
of
priest and a
yeah,
young priest.
yeah, Doctor
Doctor
Evil.
Evil. Yeah. So for me, like he's quite an intriguing figure. Like he starts off and it's like he's kind of like an old Indiana Jones or something. He just it's weird. It's like it starts off. There's nothing scary or anything, but I'm in straight away. I'm fascinated by him and what's he doing and what's he
Yeah.
finding, what's he
But
discovering.
when he finds that little artifact, it's like
Yeah.
he kind of almost becomes like hypnotized. He kind of, to me, he almost gets knocked down by that horse and cart.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's not aware of
because
anything.
remember he finds a medal. Like this is like an ancient burial tomb, and how is there like a relatively modern Christian medal doing in an ancient tomb? And like, I remember they say later that they got him, with the bishop. When Karis goes to the bishop to ask permission to do the exorcism, they're like, "Who do we get?" And it was like they suggested him because he had prior experience.
Yeah.
So presumably he has already faced off against it.
Yeah.
And that's why he's going to the statue. He's like, "Okay, we're going to do this again, are we?" Like he knows what's
It's
coming.
gonna come. Yeah, because I wondered about that stare down.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And
Yeah.
then he leaves. Then like he leaves his excavations and he comes back home. Like he must have known that it's going to happen in America, and I'm going to be there to fight him again. I have to be there to fight him again.
There was two interesting things as well. Sorry. Sorry.
So we're boring you, Liam.
No, it's a late a late recording.
We are filming quite late
yeah.
tonight because we ran out of time.
But so he just it's interesting.
Recording quite late. Sorry.
Yeah. It's interesting that he doesn't want to hear kind of any of the background of her case. So I think he wants to. I wonder, was that like he doesn't want to gain too much info because he might form an attachment to the young girl, and that might make it kind of like
maybe
make himself weaker a bit.
It could also be he's talking about how the demon uses you, so he doesn't want to. The less he knows, the less the demon knows about him, or something like that as well.
But then he also he asks Chris, like, what's her middle name, and she says Tracy. He's like, what's a lovely name. So he's almost trying to help Chris there, but like trying to remind her that like there's still the humanity of Reagan there. Like,
I think so, but also Teresa is a biblical name as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly who she is from the Bible, but it is a biblical name. So he's probably just glad that she has, a Christian.
And then of course he tells Karis how, like, with the exorcism, like it'll mix lies with the truth to try and gain an advantage,
Yeah.
Which it did do, like,
Oh yeah. But that's in a way though. That's almost more haunting. But which bit's the lie and which bit's the truth?
Yeah.
Like again, yeah. So will we move on to Regan? Regan or Reagan? Because I felt like it was pronounced different ways throughout the film.
Did they say Regan? Oh, it was Regan.
Regan.
Could be Regan.
But I also heard Reagan as well.
Maybe it's Regan.
I don't know. Linda Blair. Oh wait, before we move on, just one final thing. Like Max von Sydow or Sydow, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. He was a young man in that film. The actor who played him, I think he was maybe in his like 40s or something. They put him in makeup.
Yeah, no, he did look older, especially at the start. He looked older at the start than he did when he was in the priest suit. I thought it was a different character first. I was like, that's the priest?
Yeah,
he looked different.
I didn't notice that, but I wouldn't have guessed that he was in really like old makeup.
No, I wouldn't.
He looked very realistic. But yeah, okay. So it's funny. I mean, it's The Exorcist, and everyone knows about it. Has the image of her. But she is a foil to the actual main characters in the movie. Like she is a plot point more than a fleshed out character. But we do meet her as a young girl, and she is just a lovable. She has a great relationship with her mother.
So even that scene about her father not coming to her birthday.
Yeah. You feel sorry for her in that, and which also get to Chris, but like it shows kind of how much she cares about her. That
Yeah.
like even like I noticed I remember when Reagan when she started talking about asked are you going to marry Burke, and she's like, so you don't care about him the way you care for Dad, and I was like, I love your dad. Clearly she doesn't from that
Yeah.
phone call we see. She doesn't, but she doesn't want to like badmouth him in front of her daughter.
Yeah.
Which is quite telling again of like
How much she cares for Reagan.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a bit. But for Reagan, like her struggle, like the transit. I mean, the performance is phenomenal. It really, really is. It's incredible. I mean, I'm not sure what age she was. I think
Didn't she like break her back or something in one of those scenes? They were flipping on the bed or something.
I think she nearly
Or
did.
some kind of bad
Like,
injury or something.
I'm not
I
sure.
mean, physically, it must really must put a lot into that
you
role.
wouldn't get away with it now. You couldn't do that to a child now. But I mean, yeah, that scene where she's shooting up and down the bed. Oh, well, what is it? Just very powerful images. But for me, like as I mentioned earlier, but the help me on her stomach, on the inside of her stomach, it was like she's in there trapped with all the other voices, the demon battling still to get out, and like and even like earlier on where she goes, Mother, what's wrong with me? God, like you do feel sorry for her.
And at the end is always interesting that like when Chris is talking to Karis's friend, the other priest, and it says like she doesn't remember anything, and then she sees his collar and she gives him like kind of a kiss on the cheek. So I think something in the back of her mind kind of something about that she knew that helped her, that was good.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it's a possibility that she remembers everything. And she's saying she doesn't just for her mother's sanity.
Yeah.
Because when she sees the collar and she gives him a look, and I understand it could just be like it's a flash memory and like, oh, that a priest saved me and gave his life for me. But how more harrowing would it be if she remembered everything?
Yeah. It's like that scene in Star Trek, the end of Next Generation, where the episode, Next Generation, the episode
Best of all worlds.
With Chain of Command with the Cardassians, and then Deanna says to him like, no wait, it was Best of All Worlds. It wasn't the ending though. It was near the end. She says like, how much do you remember? And he says everything.
Everything. Yeah. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's.
I know. I'm just saying if it was,
that was my reaction. That's how I took it, and to be honest, that felt so tragic to think that she remembers all of those actions that she did, but even though it wasn't her doing it, but everyone who was there, mother in particular, and the nanny, would, her mother in particular, the relationship between her and her mother, it would be, just an awful thought.
Father Demo.
An incredible character performance by Jason Miller. Really, really, really strong performance. And
it was, as I said, it was like before he kind of gets involved with Chris and Reagan and all that. All of his stuff, like I was not expecting that in the film. It was like a great kind of layer to the film.
Totally welcome.
That. Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, when he goes into the kind of institution with his mother, and she's like, "Why do you do this to me?" That was harrowing.
And the dream. Oh my God! And then she's calling out to him, and he's crying and running, trying to get to her. Like that. That is just. I mean, and that's like that. That was the area we're talking about. Like that's creepy. That's a haunting on a whole other level.
Scale, yeah.
Like your soul is aching for him.
And then like kind of he's never kind of sure of himself, which kind of ties into when he during the exorcism with whatever's possessing Reagan, he's kind of unlike the older priest, he's kind of not sure of himself. So like, when he comes back to his mother's and he sees the pictures of, was it him or his father as a boxer?
I think it was him, because I remember after after like he leaves her in the hospital, which again is just God.
But like
he's punching the bag just to get his frustration out.
But when so maybe it was him. I wasn't sure it was him or his father, but he sees the boxing photo and he takes off his the priest kind of the white collar thing. It's kind of that seems kind of symbolic in itself. That like he says like I want reassignment. He's not sure of the career choice he
No, he's
made,
lost his
obviously,
faith
and like so when he's walking around, sometimes it's only half on, and like when he's into the mental institution, they pull it. One of them pulls it off completely. I
didn't
noticed.
catch
One
that.
of the women he was kind of talking to him saying, "Can you help me?" Pulls it off, which I thought was interesting as well. Again, I thought that was symbolic that of him kind of losing his fate or kind of losing the choice he made. All that was really good and kind of symbolic. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
struggle of the kind of path he's on. Kind of
his whole journey through this film was just captivating. His performance, and again, like it was like even when there's nothing horror-y going on, you care. Like even like when he comes back and after his mother's died, and he's just before the dream when he's drunk and lying in the bed, and his friend, the other priest, comes in, and so it's a scene that you just feel for them, and it's a dramatic scene. There's nothing horror about it.
No.
It's just two people, helping each other or feeling in that moment just a desperation and the mourning.
And then, as you said earlier about the line where he his uncle tells him about like if you had a different career path, you could be living in a penthouse now.
And you just know that in his head he's torturing himself over that thought.
And then the torture is kind of compounded by the fact that like again whatever's in Reagan, whatever it's the devil, whatever it is, kind of telling him that like you killed her, So and then that's underlining kind of the guilt even more, and it's making him angrier.
And the demon's playing him like a
playing with his emotions, like.
And you know what, like in that scene, the dream scene, and we were saying earlier about the medal, and I think that's the same medal that Father Marin found, which is weird. Like, how does he have that medal? It's never explained. But that medal drops in the dream, right? Just after his mother comes up and he's running, he sees the medal drop, and it's the carpet from Regan's room, and then it flashes to it dropping on the street here. And I wonder, is it like either his mother coming to him to say, "You failed me, don't fail her"? Because you feel like that's what he's doing. It's like when he just says, "Come into me" at the end. He's like, "Come into me, take take me," and then it enters him. And he raises his hand to like kill her. I mean, obviously he's going to kill her if he punches her, and he just has control enough to kill himself, to save her, and to hopefully end the demon.
And like I think it was because Chris says like, "Is she going to die?" And he just looks at her and says no. And I think it all came from that to help me, but then also the guilt of his mother, and then when he sees Father Merrin has been killed. That's the final straw where he just snaps. And like, I'm not. No.
And like, and that scene where she's just sitting on the bed and she's free.
That is so
just
strange.
Laughing. It's so.
No, she's looking like you're kind of like.
Yeah, but then she's sort of like sniggering as well. Like when he realizes that he's dead, and she just snigger.
Oh, that's she kind of she kind of paralyzed almost.
No, but she's just like not in any way worried. She's just like, I have total control of the situation. Yeah, it's that's the creepiness I'm talking about. Like, it's not just a shock.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then like another thing as well I found was this is just me, my reading of it, but he seemed like almost more fearful when he was with Father Merrin in there than when he was on his own in the room. Because I think when he was with Father Merrin, he wasn't like Father Merrin was taking kind of the leader role. Yeah. So I think he was more observant of things and thinking more almost, and he was more fearful. Where when he was on his own, he was kind of had to take control, so maybe he was being less observant.
Celebrating the
exactly. But I'm saying
he's almost even like the altar boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like he was celebrating. But like I think when he was on his own, he kind of had to take charge more, kind of. So it didn't affect him as much. But I think when he was with Father Mern, he actually was more fearful because he was observing it more.
Well, because, and he was probably able to, overthink the situation.
Yeah.
When it was just him, he knew it was, look, I'm this child's last hope. It's either me or she is doomed, and he takes it upon himself to find the inner strength. a great hero moment.
Yeah.
And a very untraditional hero
Mm.
story, but a great hero moment. And yeah, just a fantastic character, a fantastic performance. I tell you.
Do you know, in some ways, you think like, so I would say like it didn't go down well with people in the church. And I can see
Well, it was banned in Ireland until what,
98,
1990 or something?
1998. I couldn't believe that. I was looking up just, and I was like, because usually when you look up a film wherever you're from, it tells you the release when it was released in your country. And it was like October 98. I was like, oh my god, that's like 25 years after it after it was originally released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ireland. If you're not aware, Ireland up until the early to mid 90s was culturally controlled by the Catholic Church, and films were banned on the whim of bishops and cardinals of the country, and even laws were changed or brought in or not brought in based on how the church suggested it goes. So we had a lot of censorship in film and everything, literature and all.
But I think like
Thankfully those days were gone. But go on.
but I think if you actually, like you said, especially Karras, like his arc, like you kind of see like what he does. He kind of like saves Reagan, and kind of eradicates everything. You would, in some ways, you kind of go like, if you were church,
he's the hero, like,
he's a hero,
yeah.
like.
Yeah, no, he saves her life. I mean, yeah, very much so.
So Chris,
yeah, this is again. I know it's one of the best performances I've seen in a long time in a film. I felt every moment of her pain, and at the beginning, her just her like rising fears and just sense of unease and unsure what's going on, panic, and then just the desperate, like when she goes to Karras and she's like, they sent me to you, will you please, someone please help me?
Yeah, and it's also interesting because like she earlier on established she's not religious at all, but it shows the desperation she knows she'll do absolutely anything to try and just find a way to stop this.
I love the explanation that the doctors give, because like it had been presented so realistically, and they were like, would you consider exorcism? And I was like, what? There's no way a doctor would recommend exorcism. But then, like when they say it's not like
they think
religious
it's a mental thing
but
more
it's just a mental exercise. And I was like, oh, okay, they kind of that's
a good way of going to it.
And so for her that probably is largely it as well, but she's just like, I don't care. She's probably like, I would go to any religion out there who would offer
assistance.
Save my daughter now.
One of the things that I did kind of struck me early on was like, I like that. So Reagan is like reading it's kind of a magazine, and she's on the cover of it, and she's like, what are you doing reading that? Like, I think like she doesn't, when she's home, she doesn't want to be seen as like a big superstar. She wants to be seen as like a regular person. I like that like she didn't want Reagan to see her as a Hollywood superstar. She wanted to see her as her mother, a normal mother.
A
normal
relationship. And you see the relationship of her on set, and relationship with her, her nanny and the butler, and obviously with Regan. And like, and you really get to know her as a person. You feel like you know her as a person. And, you care about her as a character before, as I said earlier, before things start going horribly wrong. And that's why you care so much when things do start going wrong, and you feel her pain and fear.
It's definitely a horror film that really provides a lot of depth to the characters.
Because
it really was.
It's got that visceral, as we said, the visceral, in your face horror, and it does have that. But like, I think again, it's like taken out of context. I understand obviously why I thought it was a certain type of film, but didn't realize that the subtlety of the setup and the kind of grounded tone of it, and the realness of the characters, and how genuine they feel, like real people having real conversations. That you could take like several scenes of this movie out of it and put it into like like I was mentioning earlier, like a taxi driver or something, and they wouldn't feel out of place at all.
Or Rocky or something.
Yeah, just he's just a phenomenal character. Overall, the characters are just
Well, like then there's another thing is the fact that like so she's dealing with like what's happening to her daughter, and then she kind of has to basically cover up the fact that her daughter has killed Burke to the detective.
the added tension that he brings to it.
So that's like another weight on her top of her. It's like a double weight, and like someone obviously that she really cared about, like that in itself has been tough for her. The fact that her daughter did it, and she knows that it's probably likely she did it.
Yeah, no, definitely. That like it's, you've got her dealing with what's wrong with her daughter, then the realization that her daughter is way worse than even the doctors ever feared. Then you've got the fact that her director has died and her friend, and then the detective is coming investigating her about it, and it's all just starting to snowball, and her world is just collapsing from every angle. Her career is not gone, but like the film she's working on is probably collapsed. Her daughter is possibly dying, and now there's a police investigation coming in, and which are all plot elements, but so like she sells it so believably, and the way she kind of she puts on that facade to try and hide it from him. It's just real subtle, excellent storytelling.
This is one last thing. It's just a small thing, but when she's in the bedroom early on in the film, you see like a picture of Reagan in the back, and it looks like she's praying. Her hands are kind of like placed, like kind of clapped. I thought that was kind of interesting. You just see it in the back. It's just in the background. It's not like obvious, but it looks like she's kind of in prayer. Picture of Reagan on her nightstand by her bed.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. Get that, but I would say one of the few, I don't say an issue I had with the film. I wouldn't really say it's an issue necessarily. It's just her character is so amazing and so unbelievably active that you miss her, that she's largely not in the third act. Like once the exorcism starts, obviously she's not really involved in it, because how could she be involved in it? But I'd have liked to just kind of meet her a little bit more in that scene, because we're following, it's her journey really throughout the first two acts.
I guess you could have had a scene interspliced.
Yeah, like
between it. Well, he did have the one where Karis comes downstairs and she's like,
it brings it back in with that. Like I don't think there's need necessarily that like it's a flaw. It's just it's something I noticed that it's kind of like a shame almost. Like I understand why they didn't, because obviously narrative has to flow well and the tension has to rise, and you can't break that. Maybe they could have gotten her in. I don't think it's like an issue. It's just something I noticed, that it was just like, oh, it's kind of a shame that she's not in the kind of most of the third act of the movie. But it's a very, very small issue, really, if it's an issue at all.
So we move over to the Omen.
Yeah. Father Brennan.
Yeah.
I have to say, he is the he is the worst presenter of information of any character I've ever seen in a film. Like, who in their right mind would believe anything that man said? What a terrible way to convince somebody. And I'm being tongue in cheek here, because I get that he's panicked and
probably
terrified, and obviously. Like he had the mark, right? He was one.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get into. Like, so I think he was probably like Damien.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the Antichrist, but he was one of the apostles.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I was
the same as the priest who gave him.
He knew, that guy knew.
But he was one as well.
Yeah, he knew that when he gave it to Robert that what that child really was.
Because remember,
it's crazy.
They said he had a tattoo. He had the birthmark on his thigh, the 666.
That's right.
Brennan had that. Remember, Jennings says that when he was investigating.
Yeah.
He said he had
the birthmark. Yeah.
The birthmark. So he was apostle. Like, he was selected.
So I was thinking if he could kind of turn back turn to God and
Can,
like
Ja-
want.
can
Yeah,
Damien turn?
could Damien? That's what I
Yeah.
was wondering.
But
Like, if he
I
wants
don't
that.
think that like Damien is the Antichrist.
Mm.
He was an apostle. They do mention that they were apostles. The same with the priest as well.
Mm.
But maybe, I mean, it's an interesting.
But yeah, it's
thought.
crazy that like you look back on that and like that priest knew what he was doing when he told like Robert to adopt a child,
Yeah, no, yeah.
You think
But
because you don't until you do this later, and then they have the line about like when they meet him and his eyes all kind of to say that like he's forsaken God.
Yeah,
and he's like
struck down.
yeah.
Or whatever. Which on Father Brennan, yeah. So he's just a rambling lunatic. Is what I have. Like, I mean, nobody would believe a word he would say. And you see why Robert doesn't for most of it.
Yeah.
It was only when he mentions that his wife's in danger does he pay any attention at all to it.
Which is fair. You would like if someone said that you would kind of.
Yeah, and then obviously when he tells him that his wife is pregnant.
Yeah, and then it kind of.
You wonder how the hell he knows that. Like.
Maybe some kind of still because he's like an apostle or whatever.
It was like Satan has like kind of like a like a group chat. Like, okay, lads, okay, so the thing is, Robert's wife is pregnant. He's got to make sure that baby dies, right? Okay, great. All right, off you do. Off you go.
Father Brennan has left the chat.
But he has a great death and setup. But it really is an excellent concept.
When Robert walks away and the wind starts blowing, kind of
it was a good build up to that.
I wonder why he wasn't able to get into the church. Was it like devil doing
I'd
it,
say-
or was
I'd
it
say-
God
I'd say-
not
I'd-
wanting him?
It's interesting. I would say one or the other. Maybe either of them locked it. I imagine it'll probably be the devil because he's trying to help God at this stage.
Yeah.
But that was my thought that he was. Mrs. Baylock. Yeah. To me, one of the first thing, but soon after meeting her, I thought of Nurse Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She has that subtle menace about her,
and like pretending she's trying to help, but really not.
Yeah, it just it was actually a great performance.
Yeah, I'm saying she was Irish actually.
Was she really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the actor's name. But she really needed for the movie because obviously Damien is a child and he can't really.
Yeah.
And the child, and we'll get to him in a minute. Does a good job. Like I mean, but
it's only so much out of.
There's only so much you can ask of
yeah.
a child at that size. So she had to have someone like her in the film, and she does a really good job.
But like she kind of subtly tries to alter things in the house, like so. She has the argument kind of. She wouldn't say it's an argument, but it was an argument with Cathy about like
going to mass.
Yeah, but like,
wedding.
why? Like, is a 5-year-old really going to get much out of going to a church? And she keeps kind of pushing it, like, if I may speak my mind, miss, And when Cathy's like adamant, like, no, I want him dressed and down in 5 minutes, she realizes, okay, Cathy's a problem now. We need to deal with her. Yeah. It's like she's going to be
like that shot of her just standing on the stairs, looking out into space. You can see that she's thinking, like, okay, so how do we get rid of her?
Yeah.
But even like when she appears, I have to say, like, what terrible parenting. Like, hey, did you get her? No. Did you? No. I was sent by the agency. And then like Robert, like, oh, okay, fair enough. So off you go, off into the room there, unaccompanied. And like, even when she's like, I'd rather meet him on my own. It's like, no.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my child if I had a child. I wouldn't want.
No, I know. To be fair, this is a different time. This is what 76. So it's a very different world we're living in. People, I think, were generally more trusting back then, and especially with I say authority, but relative authority. People can't trust authority.
But
if you say that you're somebody, they would go, okay. Like if a guy in an overall says, oh yeah, I'm here to fix this, you go, okay.
But like then as well, like again the kind of the clashing like with the dog, and like Robert saying, look, if we want a dog, I'll pick the dog out, get rid of the dog, and then like he's there another night, and then the next day he's like, I want that dog, oh he's gone now, but again it's that thing of like she's trying to like subtly try to just alter all the things and get her kind of
yeah. She's set up the
stuff for Damien, kind of.
Yeah.
Robert is kind of is resisting it somewhat. Like, no, you're not taking over. You're just part of.
Well, you work for us.
For us, basically.
Yeah.
You're not going to be dictating
Yeah,
what comes to this house.
It's that tactical passive aggression.
Which is what Nurse Ratched said. Nurse Ratched does that a lot, kind of the way she does stuff.
Well, no spoilers now for anybody who hasn't seen it. But One for the Cuckoo's Nest is a fantastic film that you should watch if you have. Anybody listening who hasn't seen that movie, watch it.
But do you know what, like she says, like, about when he's going to Italy with Jennings, he says, like, about Miss Horton minding Damien, and she's like, oh, she's left.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, she just up and left.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder, did she do something to terrify him?
I just maybe killed him or something.
Yeah.
She's obviously got no qualms about killing.
Yeah.
As we see with poor Kathy.
Yeah. God, that seems really creepy. Yeah.
She's just about to go. She's about to get out.
Yeah.
And she's caught.
And like, there's no chance. Like, I mean,
a little convenient that like she shows up the exact moment she's about to leave. She's been lying in the bed for a week or more at this point. But look, it adds to the tension of the scene, so you let it go. And then like what I liked about her was that she's so calm and mild mannered, throughout the whole movie. And then when like the facade is down and she knows that Robert knows who Damien is, she's like a wild animal.
Yeah.
Attacking him, clawing him, biting him,
doing whatever she can,
shrieking.
Yeah.
It's you see, that's what she is. She was the whole time, but she was just being like she was holding herself back.
Yeah.
Because
like I wonder if Robert hadn't figured out, they probably would have like been happy to have Robert there for another 5 or 6 years, to be honest.
Yeah, they wouldn't have an issue with that. I mean, but
he's none the wiser.
But
like,
obviously, I imagine the whole plan was
eventually to kill him,
kill Kathy, kill him, but actually, I wonder because
he's going to hurt. If he did like that, he wouldn't hurt that money anyway, even if they died of old age.
The money is the influence.
Yeah. Well, I know, but he would eventually. Anyway.
The money. So you're right. Money was a factor, but it was a political influence. So he was a friend of the president. So they knew, okay, so this is the next step. We kill them, get him to the president. The president feels sorry for his friend, feels sorry for a young child, a cute little 5-year-old kid. Obviously, like the same way that Father Brennan knew that she was pregnant. I'm sure they have like kind of, foreknowledge of some events or idea of, like, beyond how a human would perceive things or whatever. So you understand the plan. But we went to Jennings.
Yeah. I love his line at the start where he's like, Joe under Damien's birthday party. He's like, I'm not sure. We just seen, what was it, the heir to the Thorns Millions or Jesus Christ himself? So that was a funny line.
Yeah, no, it was a good line. Funny about him is that he kind of has this like it felt like he was being built up as an antagonist for part of it. Like you kind of this kind of weird guy in his
taking all those pictures and like
he's
like when he breaks the camera, he's like, sorry, how much do I owe you? And he's like, oh, let's just say you owe me one. It's kind of...
it's a little odd, and it's him in the dark room just doing photo after photo, and you don't really know where it's going with him. Like he could easily have been an acolyte as well, the way it was kind of set up.
I like his character though.
I do as well. As I said earlier, like really when he kind of comes into it fully is when I kind of woke up in the film and I sort of really kind of
like I gotta say, I gotta say, like the fact that so the Holly one, took the picture and then she died, and he did one of Father Brennan, and then like so then he sees himself. So like imagine like what you'd be thinking, like what the hell, like so no wonder he wants to investigate and help Robert, because like as you said, like I'm involved now as well,
Definitely,
so,
and like,
but that'd be terrifying. Imagine like seeing that in the mirror. The fact it's in the reflection, it's subtle. It's like something that mightn't be too noticeable, but then you just.
And also the shape is like it is not really defined. You really know what it is.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to tell what it is, but it's a great concept, and it could easily be a movie in itself.
Oh, definitely.
Like you photograph.
You picture it being a Twilight Zone.
Yeah, very much a Twilight Zone episode.
It is. It's a really good aspect to the film. Very interesting component to it.
It's kind of like when we were talking about last week with the witches, and we were saying how you could have gone a different way completely with the girl in the painting and all that. This could have been a different movie. We're just following him and foretelling his own doom and how to figure out how to stop it or whatever, or maybe even not.
But he's a much kind of needed as well, kind of ally to Robert. Like Robert needs something, just to kind of share the burden somewhat, with the research and just kind of even this kind of stuff with the burning of the hospital. He's able to kind of supply, figure out some stuff.
And he's done a lot of work for Robert.
Yeah,
I mean, kind of a bit of an exposition dump when he's like telling Robert everything that he's investigated. But I was glad to get it because I was like, finally something that is actually interesting. But
I thought he was gonna when I thought he was just gone at the when the
dogs.
I thought he was gone.
Yeah.
I thought it was good that he didn't, because you assume.
Yeah, I was sure. I was sure he was going to die there. I should be clear again. I didn't clarify this, but I had never seen The Omen before I watched it for this. Liam had seen it several times, but I had never seen it. I'd seen a couple of clips, but I didn't know the ending, or I didn't. Well, I thought I didn't, but then when we got there, I did.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what happened to Jennings, or I didn't know that. We get to Robert. I didn't know what happens to Robert or Kathy, or I didn't even know who Mrs. Baylock was. I'd never even mentioned in the movie. So there's a lot of it I didn't know going in. So my reaction was a first-time viewer's reaction, same as to the Exorcist.
And the Kathy.
Yeah.
She obviously she wants the child so much, and she adores and is super protective of Damien, and I wonder, was there even a bit of an influence in that, early on, that she loved him so much? Was there some influence there maybe as well?
Influence in what?
Not so much that she's been corrupted by the devil, but that something is there to kind of ensure that she's taking care of him and loves him. Maybe not. I think it was genuine love.
I don't think so, because remember, even when Robert at the start, the whole point of why Robert took the baby and that wasn't his in the first place was that if she wanted the baby so much that if she found it died, that she would die. It would kill her. So I don't think so. I think she just genuinely wanted a child. And she loved having a child, and you see her. She's in love with life, and she's happy, and loves everything about where they're living, and blah blah blah. Just a kind of idyllic family situation. And
then it's very kind of subtly it breaks down, there's little subtle things, so there's the church incident, so that's just one thing, and then there's the zoo, and that's when she kind of starts thinking, is there something? She's not saying it, but she's thinking it, there's something wrong in him, and she becomes fearful of him, She even says to the psychiatrist that she thinks that Damien's going to kill her.
Yeah.
Well, which is true. Well, that's what people around him are going to try and kill her.
But he does kill her.
Yeah, but I don't think he meant to do that, did he?
He knocks her over until she falls off. Well, that's true. No, you're right.
Because he doesn't understand.
He doesn't kill her. You don't think he understands?
I don't think so. Because
he smiles.
Does he?
Doesn't he?
No. He just runs away.
No, but the very last shot of the movie is him smiling.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if
he is the Antichrist.
I know he is, but I don't. See, I've seen the sequel, so that helps as well.
Okay, but we can't comment on the sequels. We only comment on the first one.
Yeah, he didn't smile though when she fell. I think he was just, he didn't know. As a child, it was more I don't know what to do. He ran, because I think he was a psycho. I think your one knew what was going to happen. Baylock.
Yeah, she did, and he did, but he smiles. He also smiles at the giraffes as well.
Yeah, but he got scared. Remember when the baboons?
With the baboons,
yeah.
But with the giraffes, he smirked.
Well, I think he's just kind of a child, oh, look at the animals.
I didn't get that at all. I got to me it was always that he is in on it. Maybe different interpretations, but that's the way I took it, was that he is in on it. It was his smirking that did it for me. It was and even and they use that kind of that butter wouldn't melt expression. It was with the giraffes, and you had that music going, and obviously we were building to like his reveal or whatever, for want of a better word, of who he is. It reminded me in a way of trying to avoid spoilers here, but Reservoir Dogs. There's a very famous scene most people will be aware of involving a razor and a body part. And there's Stuck in the Middle with You by Steely Dan is playing over it. And so it's this kind of really intense, violent scene, and you have this happy-go-lucky song playing over it. I kind of feel that like they're using this little kind of innocent smile to kind of play against the kind of the building evil that is present in the film. Like, I thought it was done well. They kind of almost like a yin and yang of like this smirking little child is the source of all this evil that we're witnessing. It's a nice image, it's an effective image.
And obviously, she loses the baby then as well, and like it's all kind of the fruition, all stuff that
she kind of once she has the accident, she's kind of not really in the movie anymore. She obviously she has her death scene in the phone call, but like she kind of it really for her it's all about the journey. It's about having the child, having the life.
Sorry, just there's a fox out the window.
There is a fox at the window. He's looking at us.
He's gone now. But like if he's not really solid size. Sorry, anyway. Just we don't. It's rare to see a fox, So.
No, we don't see many foxes around here. Not the odd time, but not too often. Okay, back to so Catherine, so for her, I mean, there's not like doesn't have a whole lot of character depth really. It's more so the journey she goes on through the film, the kind of the rise and fall.
Yeah.
But Damien, I know we've kind of discussed Damien already. Really, I kind of felt like we would already.
We have kind of.
I thought we were on Damien.
Through Baylock, we missed Baylock, and then with Cathy, we kind of touched him quite a bit. So I think. One scene I really liked about him was and you don't see kind of him being overly aggressive too often, but in the church when he's about to go to the church, it's desperation.
His voice changes almost. It sounds like
he gets wheezy kind of.
Yeah, but also I thought, I mean, maybe I heard it wrong, but it sounded like his voice became deeper. Like maybe like we're trying to hear the devil kind of in him come out or whatever.
You even see his face. It kind of he's kind of behind whatever the guy's driving. He's just behind him, and he's like staring directly, kind of, and it's like. But like I think even it wasn't even that he wanted to hurt Cathy in that moment. It was just desperation of just stop this now,
Oh yeah, I think in that moment
he just wanted to take me away from here.
Like I can't go in there.
Yeah, and he seemed kind of like it's like he's wheezing and kind of like it's almost he's in pain as they're driving away with him, like
It was an interesting scene, I thought. And I mean, the big thing is he wins. Evil wins.
Yeah.
It's a very, very dark ending. It was
very dark ending. You're just like
it's kind of I mean it was an interesting idea, and I mean I do like it when films surprise you and go a different way, but it just like irritated me slightly. It's just like I don't want Satan to win.
Yeah.
Even if it was like something else, but like the idea of what Satan is, it just felt maybe during a pandemic as well. It's just a little depressing. It's just like, oh jeez, like come on,
Anyway, Robert.
Yes.
But life couldn't be better for him. Happy family, beautiful house, ambassador of the UK, and then Holly has a suicide.
Yeah, everything goes down from there. He's a really kind of matter of fact guy.
He's actually, I think he's a really good actor. I like him.
Oh yeah, he's an excellent actor, obviously. Straight away though, the whole deal with the priest and hiding that from your wife. Like, that
Well, the thing at the start, that was all because of what happened at the start.
no,
Where,
I'm talking about the start.
well, you are.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
talking about the
Oh,
fact
so
that
you think he should have told her?
he shouldn't take him in the first place. But if he did, he should have told her. Yes. I mean, would you do that? Take a different baby and go, oh yeah, here, this is actually your baby, but it's not. Say that to your wife. Like that is an act of just deception on a ridiculous scale. Like, I mean, how could a marriage survive that type of you know?
Well, as you said, he said that it would, it would
No,
kill
no.
her.
I mean, I get they try to explain it, but it's just
it's a dilemma he had. Like,
it's a terrible, terrible decision to make. And
but I suppose he probably felt like if it was an abandoned child, he's helping the child, but it's helping his wife.
no,
and him,
I know, but like
so,
I understand that as well. But like, you don't just have a rush adoption. Like, when people turn a rush in adoption, it's usually because the child is stolen or something, and then also you don't lie to your wife and tell them that this is your child when it's not actually your child.
But I think there's always there's always a little bit of guilt there, then, and you see it start to unravel gradually when he learns what.
I'm not saying this
Damien...
against the movie. It's more. It's kind of against the character, the moral character of the character.
I'd say it's interesting then that like he kind of the guilt of it all, because it all stemmed from him taking that child. So when things start to unravel, he like even he says to like her after the thing in the church, he's like, does he have a temperature? She's like, no, he's fine. And like he's like, it's interesting, he's never had any measles or mumps or anything, like, and it's at that stage he doesn't think he's the Antichrist, right? But it's just kind of like it's
isn't it odd? Yeah,
blood there, like
like this other stuff is happening, and actually now that you think about it, he's not really like a normal kid at all.
Yeah. And then I also thought as well, Joe, when he's driving out of the house and the priest is there, he kind of drives past him. Joe, when he's leaving his home, and he kind of looks back. Do you remember that scene? You just see he's obviously coming to the house to talk to him, and
who's going to the house?
Father Brennan, and he's just leaving in the car.
Yeah.
I feel like he kind of again was like doubt, like what is going on with this priest? Like, just kind of doubts coming in again. Like, what's he going to tell me this time? Kind of,
Yeah, I mean, his journey, and again, I'll be honest though, it didn't grab me at all until there was Jennings started kind of revealing the mystery. And he wasn't even revealing the mystery, it started like building up the mystery. Like, that was the thing, is like it's like a mystery, psychological thriller mystery. But for most of the movie, we're not even aware of what the mystery is. There is a mystery. We know that Damien is possessed or something by a demon or something, like we do, the audience. Obviously, he doesn't. But I'm saying from the audience perspective, we don't really know any of this other stuff, really. It's like there's little setup at the start, and then it's not. We don't really meet it, and it felt too.
But
I know it's really a character thing.
As he, as it goes on, like, and obviously we touched on it, but again, like seeing like this, what happened to his son, like, I mean, that's
it's a powerful moment.
Definitely. And realizing that, like, and then he gets the phone call telling him after ringing her, like, whatever, 10 minutes later or half an hour later, that his wife is dead now as well. He's losing everything, like, it's
everything is spiraling,
and then Jennings is killed, so like that kind of the one person who he kind of had on his side, like it's just like he's losing everything.
And then of course, I mean, the most powerful part of the movie in a lot of ways is the moral dilemma of, like,
scene in the church.
Do you kill
a child?
And then when I see the thing you said earlier, this nice child, but like, it is his child. Like,
that's what I'm saying. For 5 years,
he's adopted him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
he loved this.
Adopted children to their parents they see them as no different than flesh and blood.
Of course, yeah.
He
loved this child, reared and loved this child for 5 years.
This is his son. It's not his flesh and blood son, but it is his son.
You can't just throw that away.
No, the decision is, can I kill my son?
Yeah,
which is a very biblical thought in itself. Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah.
Which I didn't make the connection until just now, but I imagine that's what they were going for as well. If you're commanded by God to kill your son, can you? Will you?
And it's like you know, like he says it like it's like he's an innocent child. You know, he's like, I won't do it. I'm not gonna do this. You know, I like that. Like even after his wife dies and he finds out having his son, there's still that dilemma. Like he doesn't just up and just accept. Okay, that's what I do.
Yeah,
He's,
no,
you know,
I
he
like that.
pushes from
It
it.
took
Like,
a lot of persuasion.
yeah, to actually
Because
do
like,
it.
even like when after Jennings and everything, he still didn't want to do it. You know, he went to see your man thing.
Do you remember even like when he's cutting Damien's hair,
Yeah,
you see he starts crying
yeah.
when he starts to like he's hoping it's not
hoping
going
it's
to be
not
there. He
there.
doesn't want it to be
And if
there.
it's not there, he wouldn't have done it.
No, he would not have done it. And then when he sees that, it's the final confirmation, and he's like, you know, he doesn't want that to happen. You know, it's like, yeah, he's expecting it almost.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. No, it's that part of the story is done very well, and it's built up well. Yeah, it's the most powerful part of the film, definitely. But I think we're ready to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first again because it's. I mean, this one's definitely close. Yeah, no, it's definitely closer. Robert is a good character, and yeah, Robert is kind of the only one really I would say there's. I mean, there are, Mrs. Baylock actually. She's actually a fun character as well. But to me, it's like to be honest, not close though. Still, Chris and Father Karras in particular, are like I think either of those could be leads in a film and like captivate you from start to finish. Having both of them in it together, on top of Regan's journey, on top of Father Mern, is just like incredible treasure trove of captivating characters, and I'm going for The Exorcist.
Yeah, like Karis. I like Chris. I didn't find her arc as riveting as his. I did enjoy her like in it, but Karis's character when he goes on through with his mother, I thought was like probably the most powerful part of the film. Obviously then Regan, stuff with Regan was like crazy, and then Father Marin, like the fact you see him at the start and then comes in. Like to be fair, he's not in a lot of the film, but he still makes a huge impact when he's there.
Yeah.
And then
sorry, just cut across for 1 second. But like one of my favorite moments in the movie is when they're sitting on the stairs, exhausted after that first round of
they just need to take a break.
It's such a great moment, and they have a discussion, and they say, "Is like, why would the Satan go after a little girl?" And actually, I wrote it down because I love that line so much. If I can find it, no,
you're not gonna find it.
No, I'm not gonna find it. But basically, when he says it's like to sow the doubt that God doesn't love us, you know, to basically spread the idea of misery in the world. Like it was a really excellent moment and just a vile kind of thought, you know, that evil was that active in the world.
But Father Marin. He's not in a lot of film, but he still makes a huge impact in it.
Yeah.
And then in the Omen, I think Robert is the key player in that one. Then like what he goes through with losing his wife, and then the stuff with his son, his real son, like, and then having to kill the child that he raised as his son, like all that is like just really powerful stuff. And then Mrs. Baylock does have her moment as well.
She's a strong antagonist.
And I do like Jennings as well. He's more of a support character, but I do enjoy him. But I would go with The Exorcist for characters. I think there's more character development in them, and it takes like even the first half hour or so, 40 minutes. A lot of it is about building the characters before you really get into kind of what happens to try and tackle Regan, you know, where she is.
And I've said it over and over again, but that's why one of the reasons why I love The Exorcist and why I love that type of horror film.
It's a horror film, but it's also
a great film first, and it's a great horror film second.
Yeah.
Which I think is where a lot of horror films fall down.
Yeah.
So that makes it 3-all.
It's the second time ever, is it?
No, it's the first time.
No, second. There was a super. Oh, there wasn't. We just did it.
No, we did
with RoboCop and Terminator because we wanted to do it.
This is the first time ever. So we said we would take a vote and we would say what do we think is the best film, the better film.
Yeah.
So again, it's clear what I'm gonna say. So I think it's the Omen. I think the Omen. Oh God, it's too late for this. Clearly, I think The Exorcist is the better film. I think The Omen is a in parts average film, and then in parts a really interesting film. I felt the average parts, there was way too much average parts and not enough interesting parts. But the interesting parts that were there were interesting. But The Exorcist was I was in from the first second to the last, and the performances and the directing, the cinematography, just everything about it was just filmmaking near perfection, to be honest.
So this is like round 4 technically, isn't it? Like kind of it's really
Basically,
it's nothing, but it's just like
I mean, what this is an excuse for us to talk about movies.
Why can't I will say that why can't we have draws sometimes?
I don't know. I mean, look, if how you decide now will either make it a draw or make it a win for The Exorcist. That's basically it. I'm not doing a second round, a second vote on something arbitrary.
Oh no, I'm not.
How many times did you jump?
No, I it's kind of. I just read. I know we kind of just did it as a joke kind of thing, but I really like, if there's a draw, there's a draw. I guess because we haven't had one really, like
No, we haven't.
But yeah, like I said, I think The Omen is like a little creepier. Or The Exorcist is more shocking, kind of, But I guess as a film, I would say The Exorcist is the better made film.
Right.
So I'd go with that.
Okay, so by a hair, The Exorcist takes it. By a hair.
So what's that, like 6-4? Is it or for?
So I would call that 4-3. Like it's not like both of us combined is 1 point, because it was 3-3 and then 4-3 just makes it because it was just.
Otherwise, it'd be another draw, and then we keep going on and on.
Join us next year when we finally try to conclude who wins in this round. Okay, so it is The Exorcist. The Omen put up a very, very, very stern challenge. Definitely the closest one we've done so far. Although I think probably the most we've been split. Definitely.
I hope we does more of that though. It makes it more interesting, I think. Maybe the fact, like, maybe people listening.
What do you think? Is it more interesting if we agree or disagree?
Not that we obviously predetermine what we choose.
Well, obviously not.
Or as in, like, we do know we're going to choose, but as in, like, we don't discuss it with each other.
No. We actually go to great pains. Like, even we were discussing what films we were doing with our brother. And he was like, "Oh yeah, the Omen. Oh, so you saw The Exorcist for the first time? What do you think?" I was like, "I'm not going to say anything. I don't want Liam to hear me speak about it until we press record."
But that's The Omen versus The Exorcist in the bag.
Yeah. So next week it's next week. Tomorrow, from you if you're listening, not from us recording, but tomorrow from you listening, is going to be, Liam?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original from 1973, against Halloween, the original from 1978.
Yeah.
So
it's Halloween. We gotta do Halloween. I mean, like, anybody who's been listening along throughout the month and knew that we were doing a Halloween episode had to be Halloween.
Yeah. So it's going to be a bonus episode we wanted to do on Halloween, and that will conclude our Halloween, our Halloween horror season.
Yes. So one more to go. We hope you've enjoyed it so far. November we'll be back to the mix of genres and eras, and I know we mix eras in this, but so it'll be no set
genre.
Yeah, it just come what may from our list,
exactly.
A long list of potential battles.
But from a very tired Liam,
and from an exuberant Eamon,
we'll leave it there. So
we'll leave it there. So.